My husband doesn't touch me on our wedding night. He claims he's too tired and asks me to wait. Then he sneaks into the basement in the wee hours of each night. Whenever he returns, he needs to shower to wash away an indescribable smell. I ask him what he does down there, and he tells me he works out. Why would anyone work out in the middle of the night? I can't take it anymore. One night, I decide to sneak into the basement to see what's going on down there. He chases after me and grabs my pajamas, roaring, "Come back up here. I'll divorce you if you step foot down there." Clutching the railing, I began to tremble with anger. My parents had spent a huge chunk of their life savings to purchase this small villa for me as my marital home. This was my home, so why wasn't I allowed to enter the basement? Not just that, but as my husband. How dare he spit such venomous words at me? I took a deep breath to get my fury under control. "Alex, how could you speak to me like this?" Alex kept a death grip on my pajamas. "Honey, let's go upstairs first. I'll explain everything once we get back to the bedroom. Can't you explain things now?" I pointed toward the pitch-black basement. "Why can't I go down there? Do I not have the right to do so? I'm working out these days, and I keep my prized equipment downstairs. However, you can't see them yet." Alex walked to the bottom of the stairs, standing in my way. "Why not?" "Because it's not the right time yet. When the time is right, I'll definitely." My stomach sank. I took another deep breath, trying to calm my emotions. "If that was the case, why did you have to say those harsh things when you came running after me just now?" I just got a little worked up. Besides, you know what kind of person I am. I have a sharp tongue, but I'm a softy inside. Chuckling coldly, I turned to walk upstairs as if a man was capable of having a sharp tongue and a soft heart. Fine. I'd wait until he went to work tomorrow to go downstairs and find out what was going on. After returning to bed, I tossed and turned, unable to fall asleep. Something fishy was going on in the basement, and it must be something big. Could Alex be hiding a shameful secret? I turned to look at him. It seemed like he wasn't able to fall asleep either. He stared at the ceiling with his eyes wide open, looking like there was something on his mind. The moonlight illuminated his defined side profile, making him look incredibly handsome. His muscular body made him look even more alluring. Thinking back to the time when he pursued me, I had been so excited and could hardly believe it. He was so handsome, while I was just a plain Jane. Just what did he like about me? He told me that he liked my gentleness and quietness, as well as my unique presence. I'd believed him. However, if that was true, then why did he now? After all, I was his young, sweet wife. We hadn't even made it past our honeymoon yet. Was this normal? At last, I couldn't hold back anymore. I reached out to caress his face. "What are you doing?" As if he'd been shocked, he rapidly shrunk back to his side, glaring at me with disgust. He was looking at me the same way people regarded beggars or dirty stray dogs. Having come to a realization, I flipped over angrily. However, I couldn't swallow my rage. If he didn't have feelings for me, why did he pursue me? Why did he get into a relationship with me? With these thoughts in my head, I suddenly turned around again. Glowering at him, I said, "You said that we can't do it for now because of your health reasons, which I can understand. But all I did was touch you with my hands. Why did you react so drastically? I've told you countless times that I have a psychological disorder. I'm looking for a psychologist now, so you have to be patient and wait for me." Alex picked up his phone and gently patted my shoulder with it. "Honey, please wait for half a year longer. After 6 months, I promise I will love you properly." He couldn't even use his hands to touch me and had to do it with his phone. Was I that dirty? How could I believe his words? However, I didn't have any other choice but to wait for now. Sighing quietly, I flipped over. Come to think of it, I had given my husband everything since we started dating. I had fulfilled all of his wishes. He'd said he liked watches, so I'd bought him a luxury watch that cost 6 figures. He'd said he liked to travel, so I'd gone around the globe with him. He'd said he wanted to make money through investments, so I'd lent him money to learn how to invest. In other words, so long as he wanted something that I could provide, I never held back. However, after we became newlyweds, this was what I got in return. This was all because of that basement. I hated the basement. Even if I had to turn it upside down, I was going to find out the truth. The sun was up. As usual, I made Alex's favorite breakfast. Yet he still remained indifferent. He ate quietly without saying a word. To me, it felt like I wasn't his wife, but his maid. After breakfast, I drove him to work. We both worked in sales at the same perfume company. After parking the car, I strode into the office. Once he was gone, I left a colleague with some instructions before quickly leaving the office. I didn't take the car, but instead called a cab to drive me home. Flinging open the main door, I crossed the living room as quickly as I could and rushed toward the basement. However, when I arrived, I was dumbstruck. Scattered across the basement were photos and carefully kept letters, though worn by time. The face of the woman in each picture was beautiful and serene, but it left me feeling uncomfortable, like I didn't belong. She looked happy, caught in candid moments with Alex, the man who was supposed to be my husband. My chest tightened as my eyes scanned the pile of memories from a life I hadn't even known existed. I stopped in front of a framed photo, deliberately tucked away on one of the higher shelves. The frame was simple but well-maintained, as if he had taken care to preserve that moment. In the picture, he stood next to her, wearing a smile I had never seen him give me. It was genuine, full of life, not the tired, forced smile he occasionally threw my way. Next to the photos, a pile of letters caught my eye. I picked one up with trembling hands and began to read. The handwriting was delicate and flowing, clearly from a woman deeply in love. The words spoke of shared dreams, plans for the future, and unconditional devotion. With every line, my heart shattered a little more. These were words Alex had never spoken to me. Worse yet, many of the letters had replies written on the back, in his handwriting. He had loved her too. I took a deep breath and continued to sift through the letters, growing more nauseous with every piece I read. It didn't take long to find the last ones. The hopeful, loving tone had turned into words filled with pain and goodbyes. They had broken up. But judging by this shrine in the basement, Alex had never truly let her go. Then I found it. A journal. The first pages were scribbled hastily, almost illegible, but the writing grew clearer as I flipped through it. I hesitated to open it, but curiosity and pain got the better of me. The words were raw, a disturbing reflection of the obsession he had for her. He wrote about how she was the only one who had ever understood him, how she gave his life meaning. But as I read further, I found something even more gut-wrenching. He wrote about me. Life put me with her. One entry read, "She's not who I wanted. She never will be. But maybe I can come to terms with it over time." I felt my knees go weak. I wasn't his first choice. I was a consolation prize. Every gesture of affection, every kind word he'd ever given me, it was all an attempt to fill the void left by someone else. I kept reading, my breath heavy. Our wedding was a mistake. I should have waited. I can't deal with the idea of having a honeymoon with her. That was a dream I was supposed to live with Elena. That name, Elena, burned into my mind like a brand. Now I knew who she was, the woman who had occupied every corner of his heart while I struggled to find a place in his thoughts. Every line I read confirmed the same truth. Alex had never loved me. He was only running from the pain of losing Elena. It wasn't about me. He was broken, stuck in the past, and I was collateral damage in his inability to move forward. Then I heard footsteps upstairs. My body froze. He was home. Panic surged through me as I quickly closed the journal and put everything back where I'd found it, though my heartbeat was so loud it felt like he could hear it from the next room. I shut the basement door carefully and went up the stairs, trying to act as if nothing had happened. Alex found me in the hallway. "You're still here? I thought you went to work." His tone was neutral, but there was a suspicious glint in his eyes. I forced a smile. I wasn't feeling well, so I stayed home to rest. He nodded but studied me for a few seconds longer than usual before heading to the bedroom. I waited until the door closed before grabbing my phone and texting my closest friend. I needed a plan. I needed to leave. The rest of the day passed in silence. I pretended to be sick, but my mind was racing. He had used me. I was nothing but a ghost in his house, living in Elena's shadow. I couldn't decide what hurt more, the disdain he'd shown me, or the realization that he had made me believe I was the problem all along. That night, when Alex finally fell asleep, I slipped out of bed and returned to the basement. This time, I grabbed the journal and a few of the most revealing letters. This wasn't just about confronting him. I needed to protect myself. This wasn't love. This was cruelty. As I tucked the letters into my bag, I made a promise to myself. This wouldn't end here. I had already wasted too much time with a man who was incapable of loving me. The words from that diary still echoed in my mind as I decided what to do. I needed answers, and I knew exactly where to start. If Elena was the centerpiece of this twisted puzzle, then she had to know the truth. I wasn't entirely sure what I was expecting to find, but one thing was clear. I couldn't keep living in the shadow of a woman I didn't even know, with a man who had used me so cruelly. After some online digging, I found out where she worked. It felt surreal to take this step, but anger and the need for understanding drove me forward. I parked near her office, trying to steady my racing heart. When I saw her coming out, it immediately became clear why Alex was so obsessed. Elena was beautiful, elegant, exuding a confidence that commanded attention. It wasn't about her looks. It was about the aura she carried, something Alex could never control, which perhaps was what attracted him so much. I took a deep breath and approached her. "Excuse me, are you Elena?" She frowned, clearly confused, but nodded. "Yes, that's me. Can I help you?" My voice wavered, but I pressed on. "My name is, well, I'm Alex's wife. I know this sounds strange, but I need to talk to you. It's important." Her surprise was evident at the mention of his name, but after a moment of hesitation, she agreed. We sat down at a nearby cafe, and I told her everything. I explained the basement, the letters, the diary, and how he clearly hadn't let go of what they had shared. As I spoke, her face showed a mix of shock and discomfort. When I finished, she let out a long breath before speaking. "I had no idea he still kept those things. Alex and we were in a relationship years ago. At first, it was good. He was attentive, passionate, but over time, it became suffocating. He had this need to control me, to put me on a pedestal I never asked to be on. When I realized that wasn't love, but obsession, I ended it. It was hard, but it was the best thing I ever did." Her words hit me like a punch to the gut. Everything clicked into place. Alex wasn't just stuck in the past. He was stuck on an idealized version of Elena, a dream that could never be real. "And me?" I asked, my voice cracking. Did he choose me because I look like you?" She avoided my gaze, clearly uncomfortable, but didn't deny it. "Maybe, but that's not your fault. He needs help. And I don't think that's something you can fix." I thanked her for her honesty, even though her words were like knives cutting into me. It wasn't her fault, but I couldn't help feeling humiliated knowing my life with Alex had been a lie. As I left the cafe, I was resolute. He didn't deserve another second of my time, and I was going to make sure he understood that. When I got home, Alex was sitting in the living room, distracted by his phone. He barely glanced up when I walked in, but the silence that hung in the air seemed to alert him that something was wrong. "We need to talk," I said firmly. He looked up, surprised. "What's wrong?" I didn't have time for games. I pulled the diary out of my bag and threw it onto the table between us. I went into the basement. I read everything. The letters, your notes, your diary. His shock was immediate, followed by an expression he quickly tried to mask. "You had no right to go through my things." I laughed bitterly. "Your things? You mean the letters to Elena? The diary where you write about how I'll never measure up to her? About how our marriage was a mistake because you couldn't wait for hers?" He paled, unable to respond. I took advantage of a silence to continue. I spoke to her. "That's right, Alex. I went to Elena. And do you know what she told me? That she ended things with you because you were obsessed, because you turned what you felt for her into something toxic. And now I'm just a replacement. A cheap stand-in for the woman you could never have." He tried to interrupt. "That's not true." I held up a hand, cutting him off. Don't you dare lie to me. Not after everything. I was your wife. I gave you everything. I supported you, loved you, dedicated myself to this marriage. And what did I get in return? Disdain. Silence. And now I find out you only chose me because I reminded you of her. Alex lowered his head as if he'd finally been defeated. I'm sorry. I laughed again, cold and full of contempt.
No.
You're not. And do you want to know something? This is exactly why she left you. Because you don't know how to love anyone except the fantasy you create in your head. You never saw me for who I am, Alex. And I refuse to spend another second of my life with someone as pathetic as you. He tried to say something, but I was already on my feet, heading to the bedroom to grab my things. I called a lawyer that same day. The divorce would be swift and final, leaving no room for second-guessing. In the end, Alex lost more than just a marriage. He lost any chance at redemption. While I rebuilt my life, he remained stuck in his past, alone with his memories and regrets. And honestly, he deserved every second of it.